Hello, it's Coreyemmah here.
Ahoy, it's Zorana.
Oh, lovely. Zorana is learning Czech at the moment, and since it's third Wednesday in the month again, we are preparing another chat for you, and this one will be quite exciting because of it will be about fashion and which planet is the ruler of the fashion.
So we took a Neptune for our fashion ages because Neptune is the main influence on art, movies, music, and fashion is a form of art, like high fashion. And the idea of fashion is somehow more artistic than anything else. So yes, we took Neptune as our leader planet for the fashion ages.
How fast is the Neptune moving through the signs? How big area of time will be going through?
We are talking about 14 years, and it started from 40s, as you know, when Neptune was in the sign of Libra. So that's kind of the starting point that we agreed on. And when the Neptune was in Libra, we had an area of classic fashion. And even if we look at the movies, it was a golden era of Hollywood. We have all these classical movies with famous movie stars. And the world was returning to balance after the World War. So we have Libra as a sign of balance and kind of trying to bring back beauty, what is beautiful.
Yeah, and Libra is the ruler, or Neptune in Libra was in time from 1942 to 1956. So that's the first time, the first era of 14 years that we decided to talk about. So it's more like coming back to the nice things and more consoling things after the time of the war. Are there any other like specific things connected to fashion in that time?
The women were very ladylike, so emphasis was on the etiquette, on the bon ton. We have all these feminine features in dresses, and the women are still wearing dresses and skirts mostly. So yeah, we have more classical approach to fashion.
And shall we move to another one?
Okay.
Okay, because for the Libra, you actually sent me lovely pictures for each of the signs. So I'll be putting them throughout the video, so everyone can look like what was the idea of fashion in that time period. And after Libra, we can check on Scorpio, which was starting on 1956 and was ruling until 70s or like 1970.
So the Scorpio was mostly ruling the 60s, and what is very specific for that time, after age of Libra, we have a small revolution in both fashion and in cultural sense. As you know, 60s were famous as a sexual revolution, so we have something kind of taboo topic, which is very Scorpio related, and like our lifestyle changed very, it's extreme change from the era of the 40s. So when Neptune was in Scorpio, and Neptune is also in a sense generational planet, so it describes the entire generation and what that generation was yearning for. So it's kind of longing for something that serves as redemption for that generation. And fashion is also, if you think about it, it's like, oh, if I only could reach that ideal, then I would be, I don't know, great. I would have this amazing life. If I only had this or that, you know, it's making us longing for something. And in the era of Libra, people were longing for return to balance and return to like classical ideals, because their world was shattered after the war. But after that 14 years in Libra, now people wanted to break from that maybe too limiting lifestyle. So we had social revolution in the 60s. We also have important event, which is a ban of discrimination. So we now have movements like we have Black Power movement, we have a movement for gay rights, feminists, all these, let's say people who were overlooked or underdogs, they're now in fashion. They are so that's the era of Scorpio. And if you look at the pictures, you can see it's getting more edgy. It's also in the music, we get these rock and roll stars in the age of Scorpio as well.
Is it also a time of hippies and love revolution and this kind of?
That started in the 60s, but they actually grew up to be Sagittarius generation. So
Totally.
Yeah, they are born during the Neptune in Scorpio, but when they're growing up and when they're actually able to choose, when they're like teenagers, they are already in Sagittarius era, and you will see that they are more like hippie boho.
I have here a few notes on fashion to mention some brands, because loads of big brands were actually founded in the time of Neptune in Scorpio, which is, for example, Valentino, Versace, Escada, Calvin Klein, Diesel, Guess, and plenty of another ones. Armani as well is here, or so. So I wrote down a little bit more about also like what was the fashion style. So I have here dress underneath, a white skirt, neckline, belts, tight tops, hair under ears, and a bit wavy. That was the style. And I also made a note on some let's say witchy movies and series. So Scorpio is the time when actually Sabrina the Teenage Witch was published as a comic. It was the first time. So she was, and Mary Poppins, the first movie, came out as well in that time. So yeah, so these are like lovely mentions to this time period. Would you have any other information on Neptune or Scorpio, or will we slowly
yeah, for the movies, I think Rosemary's Baby came out during Neptune in Scorpio, and that's also kind of occult theme is coming to big screens.
Yeah, and I would say that it continues in some kind of, then when it breaks into Sagittarius and later on to Capricorn, that it goes slightly bit even more like deeper and let's say horror-ish, as well as I will mention later on in another part. So will we continue with Sagittarius?
Yes.
Now, shall we?
Sagittarius was 70s and up until 84. The 14 years of Neptune in Sagittarius, and as we know, that's a kind of flower generation is grown up, so they're now taking over the stage after the Scorpio, and we have bohemian fashion style, hippies, and fashion is inspired by other world parts. So most Sagittarius like what is far away. So for the Neptune in Sagittarius generation, what is most important is meaning, search for a meaning. So we have in the songs, in the movies, this theme is very emphasized. And also what is far away. So we yearn for what is far away, for other countries, for India. If you look at patterns on the clothes, they are inspired by other cultures in era of Sagittarius. And also I made a note for the movies. The famous movies in this era were Star Wars, E.T. And in these movies everything is about far away. So it's a galaxy far away, and E.T. wants to go home, and home is somewhere other in the universe. It's not a familiar surrounding, so we want to know what is out there. So that's Sagittarius, curious and wants to find out about other philosophies, other cultures, other world parts. And you can see that also in the movies, in the music, in the fashion. We have new rock bands, new metal bands, heavy metal, all coming on the stage in the era of Sagittarius, and as we mentioned, all these hippies. So it's kind of flourishing after Revolution. Scorpio now everything is even more prominent in Sagittarius.
Yeah, I will continue with those movies because of exactly what you said. Fits also on the movie Wickerman, which is like an old pagan movie with Christopher Lee, and there is the policeman who is quite an innocent and good willing person, and he goes to some kind of island which is like a different world where some crime was supposed to happen. So he as well is going somewhere to chase some goal, to chase some crime, to totally new environment where this society works in a bit different way as well. And he really is doing steps exactly like a Sagittarius, and the whole society there basically abuses it, and it will not end up well with him in the end, just because of he exactly goes that Sagittarius way, in the way of you shoot from the bow and you are the arrow and you just go for the goal. So that's totally mirroring in that movie from 1973. And I have here also a little note that in the very end of this era on 1984, designer was brought as a brand, which is like very flowery and kind of slightly oriental flowery, but not so oriental. It's still geometrical in the same time. It's quite matching that time, I believe, as well. We have here long dresses with white skirt patterns, white-ended pants, the belt pants. Exactly, belt pants as we call them. Okay, shall we move to another one, which is Capricorn, that rules 1984 till 1998?
Yes. Now, if you look at the pictures from the Capricorn, it's interesting, like how, when I look at it, to me it seems like all women took clothes of their grandparents and just adjusted it a little and wore. And for Neptune in Capricorn, it's important to mention that past is what we yearn for. So it's like, oh, everything was better in the past. So we are returning, for the Neptune in Capricorn, we are returning to past. So you can see how the fashion is not so much turned towards to the future. It's more like inspired by the past 90s. And also you can see how it's kind of grandparents' fashion. You know, those high waist pants with the belts, you know, the shoes that are like, also look like old grandparents' shoes. And women are wearing this like it was fashionable. Then we have again, I have some notes on the music. So it was the era of Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna, Whitney Houston, all these big stars, but they were kind of also on the edge, a little on the edge. And it's interesting with movies, all these past-oriented, like a very popular movie was Indiana Jones, which is basically, you know, you go and dig on the ruins. There's nothing more Capricorn-like than, you know, digging out some pyramids or mummies or something like that. And then we have Titanic, crazy popular, which is again a movie that was set up in the past. And even if you think about metaphors in that movie, it's like when that ship is sinking, it's like the whole lifestyle is disappearing. The past lifestyle, these you know, rich people and the luxury and everything that was before, it's basically sinking, disappearing. And there is this longing for how it was before. And then we have Back to the Future and Jurassic Park. which is again completely set up in era long time ago, during the Neptune in Capricorn.
I would also say that from the flowery design we go to more like straight, practical style of clothing. Women are wearing loads of normal shirts as like men's shirts and stuff, even though they still look very, very womanly, which we can see, for example, in Witches of Eastwick from 1987. Where it's like perfectly visible on the fashion. And what else is in fashion is big hair, off-shoulder tops, men's shirts, as I said, pockets, wide shoulders stuff. And another two movies, or a movie and a series that I would like to mention is The Craft from 1996, where we can see the fashion mirroring as well. And 1997 is coming Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's kind of like Buffy is a little bit like Indiana Jones of witches. Digging in like in old stories and this type of adventure for sure. Yeah, from designers, I actually have here Tommy Hilfiger, who's also rather like practical and straight line, 3 colors, simple design. Yeah, so that's what I would add to the Neptune in Capricorn.
Another important word is structure. So for Capricorn, and we can see how everything is structured. You mentioned these broad shoulders, straight lines. So it's about structure in fashion.
In fashion as well, indeed. So the next one will be Neptune in Aquarius, which is 1998 till 2011. So we are getting closer to our teenage years, or at least mine. Not yours yet. Yeah. So what do we have? What do we have there? Is there another kind of total flip?
Twist, yes. From the it is a big twist from Capricorn, but there are some similarities with the previous ages. So for Aquarius age, we know that Aquarius is future oriented and it's big on technology. So we have all this globalization. Internet is becoming a global phenomenon. In culture, we have again something similar that happened during the Neptune in Scorpio. Again, this theme of underdogs winning, or minorities are being given more rights during the in Aquarius. So we have, for example, same-sex marriages are being legalized during this era. Then in the music we have a lot of subcultures appearing, a lot of fusion, so mixing everything together. We don't have as much strict separation of genres. We have all these mixtures. In the movies it's again about underdogs. I have here, for example, Slumdog Millionaire. So it's about small boy from the slums of India, one out of millions that all live in poverty, and this one becomes a millionaire. So we don't even have a movie with his name and surname, we just have it as Slumdog Millionaire. So it's basically 1 out of million is, a winner. Then we have Avatar. It's to me, it's more like Avatar and Lord of the Rings are appearing during the age of Neptune in Aquarius, and it's like a fusion to me of Pisces and Aquarius. So these movies are fantasy, but they are both again, the minority is fighting for something. So we have this humanitarian topic, humanitarian and kind of rights. We want everyone to be equal. We want to fight for everyone's rights. We want tyrannical, opposite. Aquarius is Leo, so we want to get rid of the kings. We want to have a global village. That's Aquarius.
Yeah. And also kind of saving the world is something what I kind of feel in these as well.
And fashion is more future oriented, so it's not it's not looking towards the past like with Capricorn, it's looking towards the future. So we have all this fusion as well in the fashion, and you can see how more experimental during 2000 and until 2011.
I have here from another movies and series, Practical Magic, from 1998, and 1998 also starts a series Charmed, which has several seasons, and I believe so that it goes nearly through the whole Neptune in Aquarius time. So that's like a series of that planetary influence. The fashion is clean and girly with spaghetti dresses and spaghetti tops, simple tops and pants. Hair straight with long fringe and parted in the middle. Parted in the middle. So that's what I have here. From the brands, I actually found only Crocs, the shoes from 2002. But I believe that these are so Aquarian shoes in a way.
Yeah, like, in some way they say like, I don't care about fashion, I don't care about rules, I don't care about what you tell that is fashionable, I'm just, doing my own thing. So it's very
they're like that kind of plastic future that was in that time when you imagined future. It was everything was like not plastic, but everything was in this kind of style that you could take to the water as well as an Aquarius, even though you're Aries sign. Sorry.
It's kind of artificial, using artificial materials.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think that I can see that Aquarius in the Crocs shoes, even though it might, even though I can't exactly explain like where I'm coming from. I can see the Aquarius just wearing those Crocs shoes to the river and collect the water there and be able to get into the water in them and get out of the water. It's just their style in this way, to me, totally. Shall we move to Pisces, to the last one that we have on the list?
So since 2011 and today until 2025, we are under the rulership of Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is in its own sign, so it's expressed, let's say, fully. And there's a lot of interesting things happening when Neptune is in Pisces. So first of all, what I noticed with the movies, that there's a lot of fairy tales. It's all fairy tales are being made into the movies. So we have, for example, Beauty and the Beast is now made into a movie. There is, they are redoing Lion King and all these other Disney fairy tales. So it's even, I mean, grown up people go and watch these movies in the cinemas. We can say they're very popular. And even in fashion, you can see this influence of fairy tales, especially if you look like at haute couture. You can see editorials being done in kind of background that looks like from some fairy tale, Brother Grimm's fairy tales. Then also what is interesting is that the superhero of Neptune is Pisces is actually a villain. So all these stories and books written and movies made about, what is the villain side of the story? It's like Pisces trying to see, there must be something good in everyone. Let's hear their side of the story. It's like empathy on every single level. So you have to see that there is even some good in somebody who was, literally evil all the time. It's like, we want to know what's the side of the story of, I don't know, what's the famous villain. But that is happening now. So that's what we have. It's not a division between good and bad. It's not so clear. We now want it mixed. And we have all these borders erased. And also in the fashion, what I noticed is a lot of mermaid theme. Pisces, we have everything is like mermaid, like even the phone cases nails, I don't know, hair, girls are doing like long wavy hair, which is in colors of purple, blue, Neptunian colors. Makeup, glitter, a lot of shine, a lot of highlight glitter, like, scales of that's how it looks like. And the fashion now is, I would say, like with Pisces, it's Neptune in Pisces, it's like taking a bit of every single sign before and making like all into one. So today I think we have really great freedom in fashion, and you can literally see everything on the street. We can't say that we have only one style like we have like in the 50s, in the 40s. Now you literally have everything there.
I can see mixture of the styles in some of the series that I wrote down as well. But first I will get back to the remakes and throwbacks, which you mentioned, because Sabrina, that we were talking about 10 years ago, is coming back with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina just last year, and as well Charmed is coming back from 2018 as well. So remakes are definitely a thing. Then a part of that we can see, or we can watch in 2011 Secret Circle, where we can exactly see that especially girls are wearing those easy, flowery, lovely, gentle printed dresses, and over it they have a leather jacket. And it's like the connection, the fairy that got to the earth and found a guy with a motorbike. Yeah. And then we can continue with The Magicians, which started 2015, where the styles are also quite like connected, or each of the main characters is wearing different style. Plus, the Magicians are basically working on two different spheres. There's a normal world, and there's a Fillory, which is like a fairy tale world. So again, the fairy tale stuff is definitely there. And then I have here for the fashion romantic dresses with gentle floral pattern, interesting belts, short leather jackets, hair parted on the side, and long loose vests and scarves, which is like another completely different style, which we can see, for example, in Magicians as well, on one of the characters. So definitely that. And if I will continue with the mermaids, there's a series Siren at the moment as well. It just came across my mind when you were talking about all the mermaids, that there's even a mermaid series now, and the Siren is actually a predator. She's not a villain. She's well, that's what Pisces would say. She's not a villain. She's not a villain. She's just like that from nature. She's eating people. But it's about her as a good being that is finding the way to communicate with people who did them loads of bad stuff as well. So that's definitely that kind of shadowing or blurring the concept of the villain and of the good and evil characters in movies and series. Yeah. Okay, would you have anything else to any of those that we were talking about? Did you remember any other notes? I think that we were perfectly prepared this time, that we had all the notes.
I would just say, you know how they say that fashion always comes back and it comes around. So why do we have these throwbacks in fashion? If you think about when you are, because Neptune is generational planet, if you are born during one generation, let's say for example, you are born during the Neptune in Sagittarius. Okay, and you're growing up and it comes Neptune in Capricorn, but Neptune in Capricorn is very different the one that was in Sagittarius. So you don't really fit in as Neptune in Sagittarius. You don't feel like that's your thing. But then comes, after 14 years, then comes Neptune in Aquarius, and that's for you much better, because there are connections between Sagittarius and Aquarius. You know, one was like a boho hippie-like, and the other one is about, you know, other people and being individual. So it's more like being original and everything. So towards the future, completely opposite in Capricorn. So somebody who is born during Neptune in Sagittarius would be welcoming this new fashion of Neptune in Aquarius, and they would be maybe connecting, these two ages, influencing one another. And then same with us who are born during the Neptune in Capricorn. We feel really good now when Neptune is in Pisces. We're like, okay, this is much better than when it was all, crazy tops and this spaghetti hair and, artificial materials that wasn't really our thing. But now we're like, okay, we can work with this. So as we are growing up and as we are moving through these cycles, as Neptune is forming different aspects with our natal Neptune, we will feel more in sync with some fashion movements, with some, happenings in the culture and in the art and in the movies. You'll be like, okay, I feel like this is something I can enjoy. And on the other time, we'll feel like aliens in the world. We will feel like I don't belong here. Say that feeling is completely normal and it's generational thing, and we're all going through some era that we feel that we are completely isolated from and we cannot connect to anything from that era. But then comes time again when we are like, okay, this is great, this is me, so I can now express myself better.
Yeah, at the moment when we are going through all those like throwbacks and everything in the fashion is continuously repeating itself. I would also mention just briefly two big fast fashion brands, because in fast fashion the fashion is changing basically every 2 weeks. So each of the signs can basically found themselves in. On the other hand, the ecological impact is not that fun. But just to mention that H&M was actually founded 1947, so under the rule of Libra. And if I'm right, and then in 1974 Zara was founded, and so it's the rule of Scorpio. And I believe that we can see it in their, even though they are fast fashion and even though they are following that like pattern of changing the fashion every 2 weeks, basically, we can still see, even though these fast fashion places have always kind of the same ideas for each of those times, we can definitely see in the Scorpio Zara that it's more, let's say, more of the prince, more of something mystical, let's say, or elegant, while H&M is more clean, more balanced, like Libra would be. So I just wanted to mention this as well, just that it came to my mind. How does basically this apply to the big brands that are changing fashion constantly, when we have like this comparison between 2 weeks, let's say 14 days versus 14 years of Neptune. But I think that it's there still, even in these that are changing so fast, so rapidly. Yeah.
Good example.
Okay, cool. So I believe that we've been through everything that we wrote down. This time we got really like deep into it because it was so amazing topic for us. And I will definitely leave some links on your website below under my video, because people can surely contact you with their charts and their Neptunian troubles and any other things from their natal charts and their questions about astrology. And thank you and see you soon.
Bye.